meaner men slapping me. Hello and welcome back. Did you think I was going to slap you?
I'm so little.
I'm even smaller, to be fair.
We're not big and meaty.
We're really not big and meaty. Hence, we have to idolise the big meaty men. Hence, our channel, to be quite frank. Hello and welcome back to Sam's on Wrestling. And today, we are doing another brackets episode. And Sam, the brackets are a lovely time where we get 32 usually of a category. It can be a finisher, for example, we've done in the past. It can be particular moves or entrances. And we put them all in a nice little tournament and decide which one is the best. And we haven't seeded them in these brackets. And why don't we seed them, Sam?
Because if you've seeded them, you've already ranked them.
Absolutely. But if you do want to catch more of our brackets tournaments videos, don't forget to like, share and subscribe. And Sam, what have we got today?
We have big men. We're looking at the greatest big men in wrestling history. But there are some criteria to qualify someone as a big man. They have to be either over 6'8", so 6'8" and over.
It's quite large.
Or over 350 pounds at build weight.
Right.
Okay, so obviously build weight is a little bit, particularly WWE is a bit of a...
It's a bit shaky. Yeah. I don't think they actually get physical scales.
No.
And go, Rikishi, you're only 387.
Yeah, it's a weird one. And height's not great either. They're 7'4" and they're like 6'9".
Well, Hulk Hogan was famously, what, 6'7"?
Yeah, and he's calm it down.
Yeah.
So that is what we'll look. We'll look at the greatest big men of all time. So we're going to look at their career, how they wrestle. We're also going to look at their signification of them as well. So there's lots of things we're going to look at. So... shall we find out who is the greatest big man of all time?
Absolutely.
Before we get into our first match, here is how our little rules. There's only two of us. You might go, how do you decide? Well, one of us is the judge, and that would be our baby Sam. You are the judge.
I'm very excited.
The final say today.
To judge very large men in usually their underwear today. It's really a role I was born to play.
I see you do it every Tuesday night down at the Y.
What I do in my spare time, Sam, is not your business.
However, I might completely and vehemently disagree, so I get something called 5 vetoes. They're going to pop up right there. Ding, there they go. If I completely disagree with the decision Baby Sam's got, I will go veto, and my person that I've picked will go automatically through to the next round straight away. However, I can't do it more than twice for the same wrestler, so I couldn't take the Great Khali all the way to the final.
I know that you would want to.
I really would. And Sam has full power in the semi-final and the final. I can't veto it, so I have to convince him at that point. So, our first matchup is going to be Vader versus the Great Khali. It's time! It's Vader time! Vader's had a weird career.
He's had a bit of a mental one, isn't he? I love the stories about Vader.
Oh, he's got some amazing stories.
You don't want to rough up Vader in a match. It won't go well.
You say that, but Shawn Michaels did in Vader. Vader's a nice man. That was
he
the
is.
problem.
No, I agree.
That was the thing. His career was so weird because he always seemed to just fall out at the wrong time, just as he was going. Like, in WCW, he was in their, like, Baywatch episode. That was, like, linked to Baywatch. But by the time it got, like, shown... he was already out of the company. And you're like, aren't you going for the world title against Hogan? No, we won't do that. He was still in the Nitro, like, opening vignette thing. You know, like, welcome to Nitro.
He just didn't replace it.
And he was, yeah, exactly, really lazy. And then he goes to WWE and they give him a big, big debut, you know, the Royal Rumble and all that, like, eliminates everyone, including Shawn Michaels, who won the thing. And then Shawn Michaels has his match with him and throws a paddy. Shawn throws his paddy. Does a Randy Orton, stupid. And that was pretty much it for Vader. The clip got him.
What a shame. What a shame.
And then he probably went out in the most pathetic way in '98, took on Kane, lost, gets interviewed, and he goes, I'm just a fat piece, just a big fat piece. And that's him walking off. Live on telly. It was really sad. But one of the greatest big men can do a moonsault.
Yes.
Which is insane for a man his size.
I feel as though he's going to progress this round.
Well, we'll talk about the Great Khali.
Yeah.
You know I actually have a little soft spot for the Great Khali.
Yes, you do. So why don't you get that out of the way?
One of the worst wrestlers who's ever graced the WWE. Oh my God, he's terrible. But I would have booked him strong as well. There are some people who are just allowed to be booked strong because of their look. People go, no, it shouldn't be. It should be on wrestling ability. It's like, that's not true. You know, WWE and wrestling in it whole is a circus act, isn't it? It's the travelling performers. You know, and if someone walks in at 7'3" and is as wide as a door, you go, that man probably can do some damage. And you do that, it's just he didn't deserve it because he clearly couldn't work.
Yeah, and then they did do the strong booking, and I understand that. I may have done the same as well, doesn't mean I have to like it.
Yeah.
And then also there's the Punjabi Playboy stuff in the Kiss Cam.
Yes, it did go...
Yes.
Well, that's what happens when Vince has finished booking you
Yes.
really strong as your giant character or your like bad guy character. It's then into go and dance, man.
You
Go
have to be
dance,
a comedy thing.
Yeah, you have to. Look at every single bit. Do you know what? Should we put a little like tick up? At some point, has this person had to dance? Let's see if they've had to dance. But I think we're probably agreeing Vader.
Oh, Vader.
Yeah, Vader is going through to the next round.
So, I think the topic of dancing is quite
Yeah,
appropriate.
number two. Actually, both of them.
Yes, number 2 and 3. So we've got Rikishi and Hillbilly Jim.
Both have danced.
Yes.
Hillbilly Jim is way bigger than anyone realises. You go, oh, that guy, the farmer guy. And then you go, oh, man, huge.
Yeah, I think a lot of these are going to be early, maybe the 80s, because you don't realise how big they are because everyone's big.
Yeah, exactly.
So they just look like normal guys. Meanwhile, Hulk Hogan's like Rey Mysterio, don't
Yeah, he really is.
Yeah.
It's so we'll start with Hillbilly Jim because you probably know the least about Hillbilly Jim. My first actual seeing of Hillbilly Jim was in the WrestleMania 17
gimmick
Battle Royal.
yeah.
And then when he turned up, you looked at him and went, give him a contract. He looked amazing.
Yeah.
And I love that he does the puff of the chest a little bit. It's like,
yeah,
that one. I love him. But he's actually a really good worker. He's a really good character. A bit more way even before like the Golden Generation sort of thing. Everyone goes, oh yeah, he's probably around Hogan. You're like, yeah, but he wasn't. You didn't see him around that sort of. He was kind of a little bit before. But a really good wrestler for someone his size. Really good. Yeah, actually, really excellent and could cut a promo.
Yeah.
And when the WWE Network turned up, and they were like, we must have content. We need content on here. We need to make content. Yeah. He ended up on Legends House.
Yes, I did see that. Yeah.
But he looked like Snitsky. So it was like, Snitsky, Legend. Oh, it's Hillbilly Jim. All right. Rikishi, Sam.
Rikishi, I think, does still have to win this one for me.
I think so.
He is incredibly athletic for a big man. I just think of those clotheslines. Even he took from China where he could do the flip. I'm like, how do you do that?
Well, he was one of those weird guys who... the problem with people from his heritage is, that a lot of people have, like... And I can say this because I'm a type 1 diabetic. They get a lot of diabetes and it's very hard for them to control weight and stuff like that. That's why I look at someone like Roman and look how, like... built he is and a few others, it's very difficult. So he was always a larger man. And I don't think it was necessarily at first because I'm going to eat loads. But what was sad for him actually is the more he like ate and got bigger, the more over he became until around 2004 when Vince went, go and lose some weight. And you're just like, you can't ask somebody, I don't know if he asked, but you can't go, here is your biggest push you've ever had in your whole career. Now can you like drop that down? So it's I feel a bit sorry for him. But then he starts talking on a podcast, and I don't feel sorry for him anymore.
Yes.
So whatever, Jey Uso shouldn't win every single title that's ever existed in the history, even ones that are retired. Rikishi.
What a controversial take, sir.
Oh, I can't stand his podcast, but he does go through here. Should we go Rikishi?
Rikishi.
Rikishi is going through to the next round.
Next up, we have Big Cass and Umaga. Now, have these two ever danced?
No. They are non-dancing people. Two very different. We've got height and weight. As our qualification.
Yes.
Let's talk about Big Cass.
Yes.
First of all, I don't care what anyone thinks of Enzo Amore. That tag team was awesome. It was one of the most over things in the whole 2017. Don't understand why they didn't win the tag titles in either NXT or WWE. And we could talk about Enzo was the heart of that. Without Cass, it doesn't make sense. As Enzo proved when he was on his own, didn't really work. And Cass on his own really didn't work. Why they split them two up, I do not know. Vince just went, he's so big.
Yes.
WWE champion are like, he can't work that well yet.
No, and you still could have done it with Enzo being his manager.
Yeah, exactly. They could have done the Kofi sort of thing. He gets a push here and there, back to the tag team push here and there. But obviously things went off the rails for a little bit for him, and he went through some bad times. Turns up on AEW, Big Bill, and quite frankly, he's the only person I think who's come out vaguely well when associated with Jericho.
Yeah, he got really over.
In terms of like the latter years, obviously MJF and all that stuff did well. But from like end of
Learning
2022
tree.
onwards and all that jazz, he's the only one who's come out any good so much. So he got so confused because in Cardiff he was the most over man on the show. And he was like, "What are you cheering me for? What do you mean? I've done nothing. Jericho's you meant to hate me. What's going on? But we loved him. He was great. But Umaga, Sam.
Oh, he does not get appreciated enough. I don't think his time was quite short.
It's because of the way it ended,
Yeah.
and then it ended. So like, we'll talk about the negative. Like he failed the drug test a couple of times, and was asked to go to rehab. He went no, and I think he passed within the year. I think.
Oh, I think it was like within a month of it.
It wasn't a month. It was a couple of months.
Okay.
But when I said within the year, I meant it was less than 12 months.
Yeah, I think it was
really
at least a few months later because he just recently faced Punk, and then that was his last match. And he kind of got off TV, and I was like, no, I didn't know why.
Yeah, it was really sad.
Yeah.
But that gimmick had no right to work, to be over, because let's be honest, it's extremely offensive. It's a savage in 2006. It shouldn't work. It's a gimmick from like 1987. You know, think about Kamala and people like that. But Umaga was so damn talented, and he got the booking, which helped. That it came across so strong, so much so that he was Vince's representative in the Battle of the Billionaires, the biggest match at WrestleMania 23.
And you also talk about commitment as well. That is dedication. I really think 95, 96% of gimmicks, regardless of what you think of them, can work if there's booking and commitment.
I agree.
With a talent that's good, and that is a pure example of, on paper, you wouldn't think that's a good gimmick in 2007, but it was because of how committed he was and how well it was booked.
And you know what? As a worker, he might be one of the best on this list. And that's the thing that we can take in consideration when we talk about big men, because some people are going to go, well, that person's more famous than that one, they're a bigger deal. And I'm going, yeah, but is the reason they win because of the era they were in, the generation they're in, the people they were against, and all that? And we'll have to take a lot of this into consideration and stuff. And sometimes you go, they may be a big man, but are they the greatest big man because of how they worked as a big man? Umaga's speed and power and athleticism is amazing. And I think we're in agreement here that Umaga is going to beat Big Cass. But well done, Big Cass, or Big Bill, now, for the way you are. We're actually pretty super proud of you at Samsung Wrestling. We really are. Keep going.
And now two people I did not expect to see here. Big Boss Man and Gorilla Monsoon.
Big Boss Man's so big.
How tall is he?
He's 6'8".
Joking.
But he's also, I think, has been over 350 pounds in his career as well.
Fair dues. I would not have had him down.
This is the thing about Big Boss. He's gone up, down, up, down. He's one of those ones. He's been up and down. If you look at it in the 80s, he was quite large and then slimmed down again, and so he's been up and down. Like you got to remember, he was in the Twin Towers tag team, and you can't be called that unless you're massively tall.
True.
And Gorilla Monsoon's huge.
I never knew that.
Gorilla Monsoon's a monster.
I've only seen him sitting down.
Yeah, so that's the thing. But he's called Gorilla for a reason. A big, very large, hairy man. Great worker. Obviously a bit more of the 70s and all that jazz, but he could put his body around one of the most over characters in the territories, actually. He was booked so strong because of the way he looked and the way they could perform. So Gorilla, generally, really, really good. I've actually seen a couple of his matches, and you watch matches from like the 70s, and you go, good grief, how did people enjoy this? I know I'm not even going, oh, you used to work where I went, no, it's really slow and plodding, but Gorilla kind of bucked that a little bit through really excellent character work.
Are we factoring in any of his commentary stuff here?
I'm going to say a little bit for it to show how good he is as a promo, but I really think it's him as a worker, to be honest, in the worker. Big Boss Man, though. We did an Educating Sam on the Big Boss Man, so you know full about the Big Boss Man's career and how quite, impressive it actually was.
Yeah, quality.
Yeah.
He's just got a really random career. But really I always kind of like it. It's just like suddenly you're in the main event and now you're on like main event, Saturday Night Main Event or something like that. Something really meaningless. But he's done a lot of stuff and he could move as well.
I'll tell you what, when he was at his trimmest, he was super athletic, really good worker. He could do an outside crescent kick, which was like, what do you mean the Big Boss Man could do an outside crescent kick? He used to go off the top rope. I actually like the gimmick as a heel, and unbelievably, he got a police character over as a babyface, which in America, we just weren't expecting to happen.
Yeah, true. So where are you going on this? Because I'm
Big Boss Man all the way.
Are you really Big Boss Man?
All the way.
If you feel that strongly, I'll go Big Boss.
Big Boss Man is definitely going through to the next round.
Now we have Braun Strowman versus Abyss. I would have liked to have seen this. Do you need to go to the loo, Sam?
No, every time he did that, it looked, because that was when his fireworks would go off as well. So it was very it's like he's doing that. He's like, Oh my god.
It's like a really constipated version of Kane.
Yes.
Where he does this, Kane just gets it out no problem.
Kane
It flows.
Kane clearly eats his cereal. He's got fibre.
Clearly, Abyss needs fibre. He needs to see a doctor.
Abyss eats way too much fruit and carbohydrates.
Absolutely.
It's clogged, man. He needs some more fibre in his diet. Actually, fruit would be fibre.
I was going to say. I was going to correct you.
Wrong type of fruit. He has too much bananas.
There we go.
Too many bananas.
There we go.
I'll first talk about Abyss. We have started to watch a little bit of TNA, Sam.
We have indeed.
You started to enjoy it. And Abyss is like, we wish Kane.
That's harsh though.
Wish Mick Foley.
That's harsh.
He had a great long career in TNA. And he literally, I don't know the person, but he destroyed his body for the cause.
Yeah.
Which there weren't many doing that post Attitude Era to the same extent. Because he's going through glass, barbed wire, thumbtacks. Seemingly every match, even matches that were no DQ, were not no DQ, so I'm still angry about it.
Yeah, sure.
But you might understand what we're talking about as in another video.
Yeah, not Abyss's fault.
Not Abyss's fault, but I actually generally enjoyed Abyss. I like the character. It went through stages of being good and bad. There was a storyline with Hulk Hogan where Hulk Hogan gave him his Hall of Fame ring, the WWE Hall of Fame ring in TNA. Went, this will give you power. And he got the power of the Hulkamania. No, it felt more like, what was it, Captain Planet?
Oh, dear.
Earth, wind, fire, and with our powers combined. It was like that.
And did it give him power?
No, he was still getting booked to be jobbed.
Right.
So, but do you know where he is now?
He's a producer, isn't
Producer at WWE and getting huge praise.
So you're on about what kind of money is he? He's clearly very good at helping talent.
Well, he did this. The gimmick that actually I think people forget about is halfway through his career, when pretty much he's gone, he's no longer the monster, it doesn't work as well, he just suddenly turned up as like a lawyer. And he's like,
Corporate Kane.
and he was called Joseph Park, but he wasn't referred to as Abyss at all.
Okay.
He didn't even look like Abyss. Got short hair and all this jazz, and everyone was like, who's this bloke? And then out of nowhere, during this kind of run, he bleeds and became Abyss.
Oh,
and it's a
that's
great
really cool.
gimmick, and it turned out he was a good talker, because obviously what we've seen him is just mainly but he became a really good talker, he became a really good character, and now he had this split character, and it's probably one of the best split characters that's ever worked.
Nice.
It genuinely, Abyss is brilliant. Braun Strowman, Sam.
Oh, this is tough because you've sold me on Abyss now, but
Yeah.
Braun is Braun. I'm sorry, for him to debut, in 2016?
Yeah.
And by this point,
No,
everyone...
2015.
Oh, it was, you're right,
2015.
Yeah. And everyone was kind of just wanting to get away from these big men that Vince liked, and we wanted to see, AJ Styles and the world come through. And he came, and it was one of those debuts
Skipped NXT.
Yeah, no one knew who he was, really.
Which never happens anymore.
Never.
Because they go to NXT first.
Yeah.
So that when they debut on the main roster, we're like, yay. But it's not oh my God,
Who's
because, it's a new person.
Yeah,
imagine
exactly.
if AJ Styles had debuted NXT and then did his 2016 Rumble appearance. Wouldn't be the same.
No, yeah.
But him just suddenly appearing in that
no, he was.
segment.
But you kind of assume, he's going to be really green and couldn't work, and that was kind
and
of true.
He couldn't work.
But how quick did he learn?
Out of nowhere. And it was really fast as well, because he went on telly for a bit after the Wyatts kind of finished. Then he came out, started squashing people, and they were like, he's going to do the squash thing. And the squash is, you can't tell how good somebody is, because you can just throw the little man around. And then he got into a feud with Roman Reigns almost immediately. He'd slimmed down, he'd started to work, he was fast.
Oh, so quick.
And suddenly he was really good, and it was like, that's a man who wanted it.
Yeah.
And I feel a little bit sorry for him for two reasons. One, he got released for no reason. Actually, three reasons. One, he got a Universal title match win, and it was the second of the second rate. We need a person to replace somebody.
And there was no crowd anyway.
No crowd. You're the only one we've got left because everyone else is booked, because for some reason you're not booked.
Well, he was literally driving home and then had to do a U-turn because they called him.
Literally.
And again, you take what you can get, and I was happy when it happened because I was dying from doing it in 2017 or 2018.
Which he should have done.
And he didn't. So I was glad that he at least got it.
He didn't even get to be at Mania properly. He was in Battle Royals and he was in a tag team match. And they're going, this is the man you've pushed the most on Raw. This was Vince's problem.
Yeah.
Push. Oh, it's WrestleMania season. No, go away. I need to bring in the real stars now.
Yeah.
And it was infuriating.
It was because it was clearly Vince wanted from the off to push him because he was massive and in great shape, and we were like, okay. And then we liked him.
And then we were like, yes!
The push worked, and Vince was like, you're not supposed to like this. I'm supposed to shove him down. It felt like that.
It was very strange.
And then suddenly we took to him, and he was like, oh, no, you can't have him, and then didn't actually pull the trigger when we all wanted him to win the title.
And then when he became champion, he had some of the worst booking ever. Miz and Morrison, one of the worst matches ever. And then he got into a feud with Bray Wyatt, and he was in the lake.
heel.
And then Roman just went, okay, I'm back here now, and I'm going to do my heel
for
run.
ages.
Then he got released for no reason, and then he's had too many knee problems.
Yeah.
And you watch him run around in 2017, and it's so fast and like type thing. And then you watch him now, it's very kind of slow and ploddy. So I actually feel a bit sorry for him because he's had to change his work style, but he hasn't fully changed his work style. And you can it's like when John Cena runs down to the ring, and you can tell he's had maybe a few hip problems and stuff. You know, obviously it's better now. We've seen it now, and it's much better now. But when it was not working enough, and they went, "Oh, you can be okay."
Yeah.
Braun, it's no. So,
but he has had some great matches with Jacob Fatu and Bronson Reed.
Absolutely. He's made it work. He's made it work the second run, but his first run was the better run because I mean he's tipping things over. It was the most exciting thing to watch. He's tipping over the truck. Oh, he's got a grappling hook and he's pulling down the Titantron.
I'm not finished with you.
It was great.
So for me, it is Braun. Sorry, Abyss. That's me. Are you gonna try and?
I am going to veto.
No. I don't like not being able to veto. You can't deny Braun.
I am, and you know me. I'm a massive Braun fan.
What?
But I think with the unbelievably terrible booking of the Universal title, I think the fact that he's not the same and he's still technically in his prime, the create our narrative stuff. His career was really, really entertaining. He changed, he modified with the Joseph Park stuff, and genuinely, it's because it's on TNA, and everyone just forgets about it, he was one of the figureheads of TNA that was actually one of the consistently good things. He's pretty much their only big person they've ever had. So genuinely, I'm going to take out a big shock in, and I love Braun Strowman. I'm going to put Abyss through with a veto.
And I'm going to have to get over that now and try and be professional alongside my broadcasting partner, who I despise. Big Bang Theory versus...
Are you talking about the guy from... Oh, actually, no, I was going to say the guy from the Flintstones, but that's Bam Bam as well.
Oh, well done, we both made an error. Bam Bang Bigelow.
Bang Bang again!
I said Bam Bang. Bam Bam.
Bam Bang, bangity bang. Is that a bang bang, bangity bang? A big, big,
clearly
big,
I can't be professional.
Biggity big. Hey, Ellie Mae!
You're going grass on me.
She's singing along as well.
Oh, is
she? Just hear her.
It's Bam Bigelow. Versus Eric Rowan.
More Wyatts.
More Wyatts, indeed.
You wouldn't expect Eric Rowan to be on this list, and then you go, oh, the man is enormous.
He is big. He's just standing next to Braun, who is the best.
That's the problem. You got the 6 foot. Actually, the funny things are the same height.
Are they?
Yeah, they're the same height.
Braun just bulkier?
I think bulkier. I think he might have wore lifts, maybe, potentially.
Because he needs them.
Because that's the thing, is some people have definitely wore lifts. Like,
Randy.
I don't think Undertaker or Kane are actually 7 foot taller.
Actually, our height.
I actually think...
On stilts.
Just Undertaker. Rest in peace. We're taking this really seriously.
We really are.
But let's talk about Eric Rowan, shall we?
Yes, I'm a big fan of Eric Rowan.
Big red beard, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, gosh, he's been, through a roller coaster. Remember
he's been
the
through
cage
the ringer.
with the what was the thing in the cage?
Spider
in the cage.
Not so spider that they did for ages, and then just went, oh, we need to get rid of this. It's a spider, and then book you into oblivion.
A clear puppet teddy spider.
Yeah. Who destroyed it? Was it Lashley? Was it?
I literally couldn't care less.
Oh, I don't know. Someone will.
Someone
will tell me.
Destroyed.
Yeah.
It was terrible.
Another man who I think was unfairly released.
Yeah, I did like him. I just think there's only so many places you can go. I think
he has to be in a group or a tag team.
Yeah.
He cannot be on his own. He won't work. He actually, by the way, speaks really eloquently. He's actually a very, very lovely man. In every interview I've seen him, he did a great interview with Chris Van Vliet, and he just come across as just really likeable. And I was, as sad as it was, the fact that he had to be brought back because of Bray Wyatt's death, I was really happy that they did that.
Yes.
As much as the Wyatt Six has been a bit up and down and all that jazz with it happening, I was just delighted that he was included in that.
I loved when he went on AEW for Brody Lee's tribute.
Yeah, that was amazing. So sad. I mean, but in the grand scheme of things, good tag team wrestler.
Great with Daniel Bryan as well.
That was actually good as the heater for Daniel Bryan. Bam Bam Bigelow, WrestleMania main eventer. And
I tell you what, it's a decent main event for a football player.
It has no right to be that good. Shouldn't have main evented it, even still. Should have been the middle of the card, should have been your attraction match in the card. I think if they'd have done the same match now, it would have been like middle of the card, everyone gets a pop. But they made it the main event because WrestleMania, around the time, no one was watching. So they went, Lawrence Taylor, we watched Lawrence Taylor. And America went, maybe, the ones who were from the same NFL fans area, but everyone else went, I don't know, whatever, like he's a defensive linesman, right?
I know what that is.
Yeah, type thing. I think that's what he is, but I don't watch American football. Don't correct me. But in my head, if he's in like one of the best defensive type players, it's like us going, all right, at WrestleMania, it's going to be Gary Neville.
Gary Neville of all people.
Versus, and what's some sort of mid-carder?
Sheamus.
Versus,
he was on, Sheamus had him on the podcast as well.
Yeah, he's probably on Sheamus's level.
There is footage of Sheamus putting Gary Neville in a clover leaf, which is one of my favourite videos that the internet has ever produced. It's fantastic.
We've not really talked about it. I think this is Bam Bam Bigelow. I really do.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so Bam Bam Bigelow. Yeah, we're good. Yeah, Bam Bam Bigelow's going through.
Well, this is going to be interesting, Sam. Matt Morgan versus The Undertaker.
Hey, all I'm going to say is Matt Morgan got a finisher onto our bracket series of best finishers of all time.
He did.
The Elevator.
He did.
Great move.
Is he going to beat The Undertaker?
No. Let's talk a little bit about Matt Morgan before he gets...
eviscerated.
Pushed into, the distance. He was actually way better than everyone thought he was going to be. He was really good in TNA. He had a great little gimmick, the blueprint, the idea of going, this is what a wrestler should be, this is what a man should be, and all that jazz. It's a good gimmick. It worked. TNA just never got behind him, and I think it's because he wasn't a good enough worker.
No,
Angle got a couple of decent matches out of him, but
is that
the yardstick to can you get a decent job out of someone on the same level as you? That's I think it's like when we talk about like Mercedes Moné, we talk about this about Mercedes. We'll go, she's a rubbish wrestler. That's not true. She's awesome. You can just here's this back catalogue of matches where she's been great, including the best match at a WrestleMania was. No, 2 matches we agreed that she was in the best match at WrestleMania 32 and 37, but. Every time she wrestles someone who we believe is beneath her in terms of talent level, she can't make it work as a great match. She can't make it work. Equal or above, she can. And I do think that is the signifier of you can work or not. And Matt, I don't think could. Like the gimmick, like the elevator, but I think we don't need to discuss it. The Undertaker is going through to the next round.
Now we have Sid versus Abdullah the Butcher. Now, Sam, I'm not particularly familiar with Abdullah the Butcher.
He could piss off.
Okay.
He's a man who had hepatitis and still bled in matches.
Oh, so he could pass it on to other wrestlers?
No, I don't think. No, he's just a carny.
Oh, right.
Yeah, but he's one of the hardcorest legends of all time. He had matches in ECW and WCW. He's a WWE Hall of Famer. He set up a lot for a lot of people. But I would say a garbage wrestler. It was forks to the head. Like if you look at his head, it's just lines. It's really, really sickening. Sid, we've talked about Sid before. We did a power rankings on Sid. He is fun. Yeah. I love Sid.
Yeah, he's great.
Way better wrestler than people give him credit for. And a better talker than people give him credit for because he's made so many snafus that those are the things we remember.
But I like that. Like that's almost like its own genre of promo.
It is, yes, the Sid section.
That. I would far rather watch a Sid promo than just a normal bog standard semi-competent promo.
In the 80s, everyone, let me tell you something, and it's like Sid wouldn't. Sid would go.
He wouldn't tell you anything, and you would eat up every single word. He was fantastic in his own way.
And you know what? He is a monster of a man. Again, in the land of the monsters, he towered over people. And you're like, oh my god, he must be so big. Yeah. And every now and then he would quit so he can go play softball. But I think between these two, I'm going to tell Abdullah the Butcher to go away. So Sid.
So we always stick with the left-hand side of the draw first, get one finalist on one side, and then work our way into the other draw. So we're sticking with this side of the draw, and our first match of the round of 16, I believe, is Vader versus Rikishi.
Two very interesting ones, because one wasn't a main eventer. Not really ever. Like, he is Birdman.
Which one are we talking about?
Rikishi. His Birdman gimmick. It didn't work.
I did it for the Rock.
That might be just the reason. And Vader was a main eventer, but it felt like Vader was never, outside of a bit in WCW, was never really given, the chance to take the ball and run with it.
No.
But if I'm picking between these two, I don't think you can pick the comedy gimmick, tag team, stick your bum in your face guy over one of the best big men, main eventers of all time. One-on-one as wrestlers, I think Rikishi is the better wrestler. I think wrestle for wrestle, I think Rikishi is the better wrestler. I also think he was probably more over with the crowd. However, he was over with the crowd in a fun comedy babyface gimmick.
Pretty much everyone was over with
the crowd. And that was what I was literally about to say. and Vader was in the Twilight group, but Vader would go from territory to territory and just be the biggest thing in the thing. And if you walk in as the biggest thing, and you then can back it up by being a good wrestler, not just you are a big guy, we'll push the big guy. If you can back it up by being an amazing wrestler, which he definitely was, and I've seen some matches he had with Foley in like Japan, and eyes are being popped out of sockets and ears are being ripped off and everything. It's brutal.
Yeah.
I would go Vader. What are you thinking?
I'd go Vader. This is a match I'd actually like to see.
I would, yes.
I would actually rather, if I had a choice, I'd rather watch a Vader match than a Rikishi match. You know?
I agree. I will say there are the occasional Rikishi match where I go, you must watch this. For example, here's, and I'm going to throw an absolute random match out here, a cage match.
Oh, God.
With Val Venus.
Oh no, it's not random at all.
Doing a dive in the middle, like, and you watch this and you compare it to someone like when Bronson Reed bust his leg up doing this cage dive. Same cage dive, Bronson, feet, edge, Adam Coop. Coop. For AEW, landing on their feet from the cage. You can't do that, you've got to land flat. And you watch Rikishi, who is a bigger man than both of them, land that flat. By the way, I don't think Bronson Reed has made this list because he was too early, I think it is. Too early. It's been less than a year, Sam. It's been less than a year. But I think Rikishi landing that flat, unbelievable for a man who's 400 pounds.
Oh, fantastic.
And also, Val Venus must be like...
Yeah, because you'd think, he's going to do it, but Val Venus will move, right?
No, he takes it.
Fair do, Val.
I think Val Venus went, I will take it, but I'm winning this match. Vader's going through to the next round.
Yes. And next we move on to Umaga versus the Big Boss Man. Speaking of matches I'd like to see.
Oh, I don't know.
It's a very interesting... I think that would have been a good feud, actually.
What would you go with, right? Because I think we'll openly say, because sometimes you can't split people for different reasons because they're so different. So let's go like quota for quota, as it were, right? Almost a power ranking, right? Wrestling ability, Umaga, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Storytelling, probably still Umaga because of the gimmick.
Yeah.
Promo, Big Boss Man. Okay. Look,
Umaga for me. Umaga.
And then you start getting into things such as like longevity and stuff like that. Bossman. Umaga's gimmick was from 2005 to middle of 2008. And he did 3-minute warning beforehand, which was actually enjoyed and should have been pushed way more. I don't know why they just abandoned the gimmick. I actually liked it. I think it was because it was Eric Bischoff and who they were attacking at first, like attacking women and priests, and it was stupid. But they should have been over more than they were. And then you think about main event. Umaga never really, outside of a couple of matches with John Cena, was Bossman, like main evented like SummerSlams, I think, at one point. I think he was in a tag team in the SummerSlam match, or at least a main events, that type of thing, but then he dropped down. It's a tough one.
What I'll say with the longevity thing, though, with Umaga, he didn't have the longevity because of personal issues, not because his act didn't work.
It could have carried on.
Yeah.
It's a tough one here.
I'd go Umaga. Don't you dare be too. Really? Okay, what's your case for Bossman?
That's what I'm thinking about, because I think if I was picking between the two, I'd pick Bossman. But if you put on every single criteria, it's very tough not to go with Umaga.
Who'd you rather watch?
Oh, I don't know that either, because I liked Bossman's. I liked Bossman's. I'd rather watch Umaga in the ring, but I think I'd rather watch Bossman in general, because I think there's so much more depth you can do, and I think that's the difference. Umaga, there's just no depth. You can't give it depth. Because they didn't. In 3 years, he got given absolutely zero depth. He went, everything was a flat line. Whereas Bossman, the babyface turn and all the changes. Do you know what? I'm going to veto it. I am going to go with Big Bossman. With a heavy heart, because I do think Umaga is... Oh.
You're wrong.
No, I don't. They're just so close. It's the fact that they are so close.
Oh.
They are so unbelievably close. But Bossman got hanged at WrestleMania 15 and then did that thing with the Big Show. No, I'm going Umaga. Umaga can go through to the next round.
Next, we have Abyss versus Bang Bang Bigelow.
Bang 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 Bigelow.
Bang Bigelow.
Can we first of all agree that I personally believe that Bam Bam Bigelow would have been better than Braun Strowman? That's my personal belief as well.
See, I would disagree.
I know, but I don't think you've watched enough Bam Bam Bigelow. The fact that he was given the task of main event WrestleMania with a nobody, it shows you how good he was. And the reason he didn't get push in the WWE is the same reason as so many other people who didn't get a push in 1996.
Oh, was it the Click? Was it?
He was one of the against the Click type things. They've tried to tell stories and saying that's not true. And they said they got Scott Hall and Kevin Nash in a room and Shawn Michaels maybe. And they said, write down a list of people who you want when they were struggling. And Bam Bam was at the top of everyone's list. And they went, That's not a true story, is it? And if it is a true story, the fact that the Click are having a conversation with you about who do you want in also shows a problem.
Yes, massively.
But Bam Bam, if you take kind of ignore his WCW when it was the paycheck and everyone is just retiring there at WCW, his ECW stuff is great, particularly with Taz, so much so that the WWE started copying half the stuff, like going through the ring and stuff. That's all from Bam Bam and Taz going through. His in-ring work is amazing. His, again, moonsault, just like Vader, is incredible. I think it's fantastic. I do think he would have beaten Braun Strowman, and therefore I think he also probably beats Abyss, is how I'm judging that.
I've not seen too much of either of these guys. I like both of them.
I really
from
do.
what I've seen, I just don't know that much.
I think Abyss is a better character, and I think had better, booking throughout, but I think Bam Bam would have been better, and I think if Bam Bam turns up at the same time as Abyss in TNA, for example, as if he was in 1995, I think he would have been shot to the moon.
I mean, him versus Joe.
Exactly. He was actually really, really, really good, and it was the booking that let him down, because when he got the booking, he showed he could do it in ECW. Great matches with Taz in particular. He was part of the franchise team with your favourite Shane Douglas and Chris Candido. I can't remember what they are now. There were 3 something. But I think it's Bam Bam over Abyss with a heavy heart, because I love Abyss. But I think Bam Bam would have beaten both of those two.
Instinctually, I would have gone for Abyss, but if you feel strongly about Bigelow, I'm happy to just go with that. You don't need to veto.
I think it's Bigelow. Cool. I think. And also, main event to WrestleMania. It's hard to ignore, not because he main event WrestleMania, but because he was given the task of doing it. And I think people need to remember that moment he did the pushing with Lawrence Taylor at the Royal Rumble got big coverage. So he was given a big task, and he over-delivered. Over-delivered. It's all Bam Bam. He deserves the respect.
And we're just nipping over to WrestleMania 13 now.
Oh, is it Bret versus Steve Austin?
No, Sam, it's the main event. It's Undertaker. Yeah, everyone else did that as well. It's Undertaker versus Sid. And Sam's left, so I'm just going to talk you through as to why the Undertaker beat Sid. Not that you probably should need any explanation. We love Sid. He's great. He isn't the Undertaker, is he? And I think the Undertaker's a little bit better. We love Sid, but the Undertaker goes through, and I think we'll talk about the Undertaker more in the next round. Oh, you're back, Sam, you're back.
He pooed his pants in the WrestleMania 13 main event.
Another absolute belter of a match that I'd like to see. It's Vader versus Umaga.
Quarterfinals.
Yes. It's a big round.
I have my answer. I struggled so much between Umaga and Bossman, and I think Vader's better than Bossman. Yeah. So my answer is Vader.
I love Umaga to bits, but my answer is also Vader.
That's fair. I think the shortness of the career against a mid-carder like Bossman is one thing, but against a main eventer with Hogan and Flair and all these people, and holding his own, Foley, and goes from company to company, being awesome. If only Shawn didn't do what he did.
If only Shawn was the Shawn Michaels of post-2002,
Because I think Vader would have been WWE champion in 96 and 97. Yeah. I really do. It completely killed his push immediately, and he was just shot. Sure. And I feel it's gutting, it really is. But yes, Vader is going through to our semi-finals.
It's bang, bangity, bang, 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 Bigelow, bang, versus The Undertaker in the quarterfinals. Now, Sam, obviously, we don't just want to throw The Undertaker through just because he's The Undertaker. I think it's time to talk about what makes The Undertaker
let's be honest, he's had quite a nice draw in terms of he's obviously the winner here.
Yes.
What made him a good big man is the fact that he's had different booking styles for his big man. Because he has been booked as a big man. I would actually say it got a bit later that he was not booked as a big man, actually. And that's why we have to think about it, if it's in terms of the big man style. That's kind of what we're trying to judge it on a little bit, as well as career. And he first came on, obviously, he just couldn't be knocked off his feet until Hogan. Slow plodding. Not going to lie, I didn't enjoy most of Undertaker's career. We've talked about this before. If you actually really sit down and break it, because it's the greatest gimmick of all time, but a lot of people weren't enjoying it. Like, everyone loved it at first because of kayfabe. But he just then faced a series of, plodding people. And if you're really into wrestling, and you watch it back now, it's not very good. And most of the 90s Undertaker's not very good. Attitude Era changes his gimmick, and quite frankly, I didn't enjoy the Ministry stuff either. Other people have a little soft spot for it. I don't like it.
Yeah, I think it can be a bit of rose-tinted glasses again. I don't know. I wasn't there. Yeah. I was born in October 99 and wasn't watching, would you believe? So I don't know. I think yes. I think that the character struggled to adapt in the 90s, hence the American Badass gimmick that I semi-enjoyed, but I still wouldn't call it his best work.
I hated it at first. It became better when it became more Big Evil. Rather than, which is around the 2002 mark. Started working better, started getting better wrestling and all that jazz. Was less about being a biker and more about being himself. And then I think from 2004 onwards, I actually think is the best stuff. Yeah. I actually think most of outside of gimmick stuff that goes with it and pomp and circumstance. I think the best stuff is there, really.
Yes, but in the ring, obviously, we know he could, in general, move unbelievably well.
He had the fact that he was only told to plod and stuff, and then he would do a running, leaping clothesline. You're like that. Watching him dive over the ropes is still one of the most special things to me.
Yeah, it's all the flashbulbs
because he gets it.
Yeah.
Don't do it all the time, Mike Awesome. Don't do it all the time, and then it means something. And I don't mean just do it at WrestleMania because that's how it goes, but he did do it when it mattered. He needed to.
Yeah, when the character was pulling out all the stops.
Think about the Inferno. Dives over, the flames go up. Oh, it's one of the greatest photographs of all time. I love Bam Bam Bigelow, and I think he's more than deserved to make the quarterfinals. I think he deserves way more respect, and we respect him on this show. But The Undertaker is going to go through to our semi-final.
And we have quite the belter of a semi-final for you. We've got Vader versus The Undertaker.
I have no memory of these guys ever facing each other.
Definitely did.
They must have done it.
100% did.
Must have done. No memory of it at all.
But I'm in two minds here because I love Vader. This is clearly the toughest draw The Undertaker's had.
Yes, it is. Absolutely it is.
And again, if this was the best wrestler, it's a very open and shut case. But we are talking about big men. And I think... Would you say that Undertaker has any flaws in terms of being a big man and that style?
Do you know what? I would say no.
That's it. It's done.
But it's almost like he's in the range of he's just quite tall. Because even with his 6'10", I actually think he's a bit smaller, like 6'9", I think. Even with that size, he's always been really slimmed down, really relatively built by like 2001 where he kind of let go a little bit. He got injured. He was injured, let's be honest. And you compare him to Kane, who's people say size, but Kane was enormous, massive man. And you compare to other people his size, like Braun Strowman, for example, much bigger, wide. So Undertaker's always been kind of slim. He got a basketball sort of player frame, which he then put muscle on top of, whereas Vader is born to be just this huge power monster type thing. I think it's really interesting that Undertaker was, what would his career been if he wasn't given the Undertaker gimmick like he was? Because obviously he was like a tall man in WCW.
Yeah.
And everyone went, you're not going to make it just because you're tall. And Vince just had this gimmick, and Undertaker being the smart man. Would he have got there in the end? Because I don't think he would have done.
He wouldn't have got there.
No, I don't think he would have made it.
Because he
was going nowhere in WCW.
I think it depends. I think there's a lot of people you can look at that have slipped through the cracks who were actually really competent and just never got that break or that opportunity or didn't make the most of it for whatever reason.
Yeah.
So I know what you mean. I think he would have found work because he's very competent at wrestling and understood character work, but would he be this?
No, I don't think so. No. I think he wins.
Oh, I think he wins as well.
Undertaker is going to be our first finalist.
So, Sam, you told me that there are a couple of people who haven't made the list and you want to give an honourable mention.
I did, yeah. So before we get into the second half of the draw, I want to talk about Ernie Ladd and Giant Barber. Now, Sam, why do you think they've not made the list?
Frankly, I don't know who they are, Sam.
And I can't tell you much about them either, which is why we couldn't judge them. We just go, we know them, they're really good, so the other people. So there'd be no point putting them in, but we want to say that two of the biggest big men of all time, particularly Ernie Ladd is regarded as one of the greatest. He's a huge man. I've seen pictures, he's enormous, and he was regarded as really good, but it was way before my time, and way before my time to even do research, and Giant Barber in the same sort of boat. So I couldn't even tell you if they're good, bad, or indifferent. So I just wanted to mention those before we got into the first round match of the second half. Andre the Giant and King Kong Bundy, Sam.
Ooh, interesting.
WrestleMania 2, WrestleMania 3.
Yes. Now, I think I like King Kong Bundy.
I don't.
I just think he's kind of good. He's one of those like...
I think he looks like an egg.
He does look like a massive egg, but an egg that I wouldn't want to travel with.
Can I just point out, I actually like him as a human being because he's actually a very, very funny man.
Oh, is he?
He's been on loads of sitcoms and he's really entertaining, and I actually think his career would have been better if he actually just stayed there.
Done a bit of a big show.
I think he was like All My Children. I think he was in, and I've seen clips of it. And he's just really, really, really funny.
Fair
he's way
enough.
funnier than the Big Show. He can actually do comedy acting.
Oh.
There's not Big Show is funny, therefore can he do comedy acting because it's very difficult. Comedy acting in a sitcom is really hard. It's one of the hardest acting to do. If anyone wants to know, comedy acting is really easy. It's not. It's one of the hardest to be able to tell a joke, to be able to have that timing. You can't just say the line. You've got to be able to put something on it, but at the same time, it can't sound fake. He's actually really good at it. But I think it's going to be Andre the Giant here.
Oh, I think it's Andre.
We will talk a bit more about Andre later, because we do have views on Andre, but in this case, Andre the Giant, I think, beats King Kong Bundy.
Now we move on to Kevin Nash versus Albert.
You have a newfound appreciation for Kevin Nash already, don't you?
I do. Well, I didn't have an old found one, to be honest. It's just a found appreciation for him. Because, Kevin Nash is a weird one. He's good, but he seems to ruin many things, doesn't he? He's had a bit of a career, to put it lightly. Albert, I enjoy Test more.
Quick question. Wrestler who dances?
Oh, yeah. Kevin Nash definitely danced as well at some point.
He's done a cannonball.
That's good enough. I like Kevin Nash. I'd probably lean towards him here. But what do you think of Albert?
I think Albert got really hard done by in his career because, quite frankly, he's a really good worker. He can move. He was fast. He was flexible. He made things work. He just never got given the character. And then when he did get given a character he could use, such as Tensai, the crowd weren't going to allow it. And I feel a bit sorry for him because I'm like, he was getting a monster push. He went to Japan, proved how good he was as Giant Bernard, and I've seen this in the book, it's brilliant. He actually tagged with Tomko, of all people. And then he came back to WWE, they gave him this gimmick. Why they gave him a kind of a Japanese gimmick when he's clearly American, I don't know. But they should have explained it. They literally, if they would have gone, this was Albert, he's gone to Japan, and he's been transformed by Japan and has become Tensai. But they just went, no, new bloke.
It's just that's just such a Vince thing to do, not acknowledge the past.
They
actually give him a much more interesting backstory and a way complex backstory.
They just assume he just went. People don't remember. They don't remember. It's like what the guy who was in the Attitude Era and the beginning of the Ruthless Aggression Era as A-Train wrestled the Undertaker at 19 and SummerSlam. I mean, he's not a nobody, Vince.
And then everyone chanted Albert and it undercut the entire thing.
Even though he beat Cena and Punk in his first 2 out of 3 weeks, I think.
He blooming did. It was weird because I was 11 and had no idea who this guy was.
Yeah, of course,
I was like, who is this guy?
Well, everyone went Albert, and the problem is people can't let it go. It's like when people were chanting Husky Harris at Bray Wyatt for a while.
But then Bray Wyatt.
It was around an era where WWE was really bad, but also the fans weren't helping. It was like we hate what you're doing, so we're going. But you're
like an abusive relationship.
Yeah, well, they then started to ruin things that didn't need ruining, the things that were good. Like Bray and Tensai were actually good, and they were like, oh, but we're angry at everything. We're going to ruin this. I don't know what it was. It was like it was really strange.
Smarkiness.
It was smarkiness. We'll talk about Kevin Nash in the next one, I think. But I think Kevin Nash beats Albert here. But Albert, we love your work. Actually, we really do. I actually think he's never let you down.
Oh, absolutely.
It's how I would do Albert.
The head trainer in the performance centre as well.
He has been,
clearly doing a very good job. So.
He never let you down. I think that's the biggest compliment you can give somebody. He'll never, ever let you down.
All right, you Homo sapiens, let's have it. This is going to be a belter. Earthquake versus Omos.
Can I just say, I'm an Omos fan.
An Homo sapien?
I'm an Homo sapien. I really am. He is way better than people want to believe he is.
It's just like the nickname. Omos is weird, isn't he?
Yeah.
Because he is massive. He's one of probably the top 3 biggest guys here.
That match at WrestleMania with the New Day is one of the best booking of a new character in terms of in-ring I've ever seen. The New Day were terrified of him. Yeah. They deserve all the money that they should have got for that WrestleMania appearance because Omos looked like a monster and everyone went, this is amazing. And they just didn't push it enough. And then they started using special attraction, then he went to Japan. It's really strange. I actually think he's way, way better in the ring than people want to give him credit for. Because he's not amazing, you're like, but he's 7'3" and huge. He's not going to be amazing. He's not going to be doing sope superseders and topes and all this like. So he's not going to do that. But yeah, Kevin Nash at 375, back moonsault, lead on the floor, still victorious.
But have you seen? I've seen online like he's really good in the ring now. He's done like last rides and stuff. Like you don't want to take a last ride from Omos.
Yeah, he's been really good. I've been really impressed with him. However, Earthquake wins here. I'm going to talk about Earthquake more later because I love Earthquake. I think Earthquake is awesome. So
the Homo sapiens will turn off now.
No. So do you want to go with Earthquake, or do you need me to veto?
Oh no, I'll allow you to do it. I just think Omos is underappreciated. And
He is. He
think
really is.
They brought him in too soon. I think they needed to train him longer.
Again, Vince just couldn't let things go. There was just go and let him learn to work. And oh look, he's learned to work. Earthquake.
We've got Bruiser Brody versus Mabel / Fisher / Big Daddy V in a 3-on-1 handicap match. That's the rumble I'd like to see. The three faces of Mabel.
I feel so sorry for Mabel in Viscera. I really do.
Not Big Daddy V though.
No, screw him. Okay. But because he's regarded as one of the worst of so many things. Worst main events in wrestling history at a pay-per-view. Worst King of the Ring. And all this jazz. When, quite frankly, you are going to have a go at that opportunity if someone presents it to you.
Oh, I don't.
And that was the thing.
I don't think people begrudge Mabel for.
I think he gets it, the flack, rather than the Vince booking of it. That's the problem. He's one of the ones where I think it's like Mabel, rather than why did Vince go for Mabel, like that type of thing.
Yeah.
Dave Meltzer said that Mabel was going to be the third man, and they went, "I never said that. I said he was a part of the options a week out." And you're like, "So you said it then, Dave? Stop pretending that you knew it was Hogan. you said it was Mabel."
You hate Meltzer, don't you?
I hate Meltzer so much.
Oh, that's
scourge of wrestling.
It's a fantastic alternate timeline.
I thought he was, for a man who was his size, which is enormous, he moved really well. He had some really cool moves. He used to be able to do a spinning heel kick.
It's pretty cool.
I thought he was great. I genuinely thought he was brilliant. Bruiser Brody, one of the few people who never made it to WWE, but is still more famous than anybody else. He was an unbelievable wrestler.
Wow.
He was so good, a proper brawler, could do blood feuds, but could wrestle, this kind of mad character. A lot of people wanted him in WWE, and I'm pretty certain he probably would have made it there eventually anyway, because he was so good, but he didn't need to, because he was like the big name around the WWE until, sadly, Puerto Rico. But I have Bruiser Brody here. I think Bruiser Brody is a legend. Yeah. He deserves way more acknowledgement, and I really wish he'd got that WWE run to have a bit more of a stage to be shown.
Yeah, I'll go Bruiser Brody.
Yeah, Bruiser Brody.
We have an interesting match. It's One Man Gang versus Giant Haystack.
It's ITV. It's World of Sport in 1970s.
What a niche discussion this is.
Right. Giant Haystack. There's a reason he's on this list. First of all, he's actually enormous. People think, he was just 600 pounds or whatever, which he was, and more.
Yeah.
But he's in the height category as well.
Wow.
He's like 6'8", 6'9". So now he's got this 600 and this. Him versus Big Daddy, World of Sport, ITV. Finley was around the time. This was really crazy.
I've seen it.
You go, oh my god, this was the most watched thing. It's terrible. It's one of the worst thing ever. If you were saying like Andre and Hogan was voted one of the worst matches of all time by Meltzer that year, you'd go watch Big Daddy versus Giant Haystack.
Oh no, I've seen it. I've literally because I thought you were going to apply.
They bumped bellies.
No. Literally, when my parents, I was obviously like my parents were, learned wrestling when I was a kid to understand what I liked and stuff, and they would always talk about Big Daddy versus Giant Haystack.
Every person did.
Any British person who's
over the age of 45, 50 now,
they'll all tell you about Big Daddy and Giant Haystack. It's like, that was the time of wrestling. Yeah. And I've wondered about it for ages. And one night I just went, you know what? I'm bored. I'll just go on YouTube and see what this is all about. Oh my goodness! This makes Yokozuna or Viscera look like Bret Hart. Genuinely, it's unwatchable, but also so watchable. It's like the room of wrestling. It's hilarious. Yeah. But when you maybe watch in the 80s or 70s, you don't know anything else. You're just watching it. It's kind of entertaining in its own way.
I'll also point out though that we're talking about the 70s, but Giant Haystacks turned up in WCW in 1995.
What a lad! Get that big paycheck.
He was known as Loch Ness, and now he's about 700 pounds.
Plus,
and they brought him in so that he can get involved in this thing, but he didn't come early enough. And then because he was going to be one of the giants in World War III, but didn't get there. So then they were going to have him go through the cage and beat up Hogan. That was going to be his debut, but he couldn't get through the cage door because he was too fat. And then,
genuinely,
yeah. Then they literally watched him do a couple of matches and went, "Oh, you suck. You're too fat. You can't move."
Did they not think to watch his matches before?
Yeah, but this is 20 years later as well.
Oh,
and he had a match with Giant or Big Show, and it lasted about 4 minutes. He literally had to, when he got, let's say he did an elbow drop on Big Show, he then had to put his hand on the second rope, had to do a pose because he's knackered before he could get up. He is gone. He died not long after this, actually. But I think we have to put some respect on Giant Haystacks for what he did for British wrestling, how famous he actually was. We'll talk about One Man Gang, I think, in the next round, but I wanted Giant Haystacks because I don't think we're ever probably going to talk about it unless we review WCW in 1995, which, Sam, I am planning to do.
Oh, you know. Now we have Yokozuna versus Mark Henry, and I think we could end up falling out on this one, Sam. This is a very interesting match.
Right, okay, let's just have a conversation.
Of course.
So this conversation, right, has to be, we're going to ignore, and don't have a go at this because I'll come back to it, Mark Henry post 2011, okay? Doesn't exist. So imagine he's retired. No, I'll get back to it in a minute. No, just then. So imagine Mark Henry finished in 2010, right? Mark Henry's career up to 2010 is awful, quite frankly. He had... he came in 96 as, the part of the American Olympics team and then bombed the American Olympics. He could not work, but they kept him on telly because they gave him a 10-year contract.
Yes.
And WWE couldn't get rid of him because of how the contract was formed. And he couldn't work. He was as green ever. And straight away, what do they do with the person who can't work? It becomes a silly character. Sex chocolate, as I call him.
Sex chocolate.
Sex chocolate.
Oh, what a gimmick.
It's a great gimmick. But it's not good. He then disappears, comes back as the world's strongest man in 2003, doesn't get any booking whatsoever. The only thing I remember about it is they did three things happen. One, he and Test were trying to prove who was stronger, so he was like, pushing cars and doing this. And Brock did the F5 on him, which is incredible.
Oh, cool.
And then he went away again and came back in 2006 as a little monster. Got into the World Heavyweight Championship with Kurt Angle, was meant to be Batista, had his Undertaker match. And then what happened? Disappeared again and just floated for ages. Mark Henry's career was actually, quite frankly, awful for someone who had his push, his contract, and all this jazz. And Yokozuna, if we're only talking about that, had a way better career. WWE champion, WrestleMania main eventer twice. He got the biggest push you could ever. He got the backing. He was a really good worker for a long time for someone his size because he could move. He could do so many things. And then just at the back end of his career, just literally pretty much as the end of the WrestleMania 10, he put on so much more weight and just could not work. There's a story of him and Vader being sent to like a diet camp type thing. Because
that's a sketch, isn't it, Wayne's
Weapon? Oh, it gets worse.
Okay.
They used to sneak out at night and eat KFC.
Quality.
And all I've got in my mind is them sneaking. All I've got in my head is the Jurassic Park with the
water.
Was the security guard not in his booth, just seeing the water ripple and like?
Well, I'm not being funny. If I'm a security guard and I see Yokozuna and Vader both walking out, I'm probably just leaving him. Probably just go, no, nothing to see here. I'm not going to stop you two lads.
Cigarette break all of a sudden.
You know what I mean?
I need to light. I need the light. I can't see up here.
I'm in the shade.
The shade of them.
That's what I meant.
That's offensive. We shouldn't do that.
It can't possibly be offensive.
But honestly, this is the thing about this is why I like Yokozuna, who's such a large man, and the way he moved up until '94 was awesome. Won a Royal Rumble by trying to be pinned. But then his career pretty much fell off, and then sadly he passed pretty much because he couldn't shift the weight really in the grand scheme of things. But is a legend of the game in one of those Samoan dynasties, even though he was booked as Japan. But Mark Henry, out of nowhere, stole a gimmick, and he stole the gimmick. It's Brodus Clay's gimmick.
Yeah, well, Vince gave it to him. Yes,
he stole the gimmick.
Yeah,
and do you know what? It didn't last. It's really short.
Oh yeah.
This Hall of Pain was like under a year. It's really short. But he deserved the World Heavyweight Championship, and I want to know: would he have carried on as World Heavyweight Champion if he didn't get injured? Because he was injured around Survivor Series, TLC.
Yeah, and
then never won off telly, by the way, because he was in the cage match at the Royal Rumble anyway.
Yes, but I think it was more, they put him in the triple threat.
With a triple threat so he could work around
it. And then they put him in a big multi-man match at the Mania so he could work.
He got worked around. And he was there going, could he have had the title longer? Maybe. I think he might even gone into Mania as world champion. Him and Sheamus, maybe.
I think he could have done, but they weren't going to do it because I think Vince just wanted the big show to have it. And then Bryan had the briefcase, so he was always going to use up Bryan.
Bryan, he was never having cash in. Bryan was told he was going to cash in way later.
Was he?
And then Bryan, you're cashing in this week now. And he was like, so they didn't want to cash in on Henry, they wanted to cash in on Big Show, so that it made Bryan look a bit more heelish, and it also protect Mark Henry a little bit more. after he lost to the Big Show. He didn't want to have, whatever. But then he kind of floundered again. And then did the most unbelievable segment in wrestling history. It's up there. It's probably in that top 50 of greatest segments of all time. That retirement speech is brilliant. I think if we were generally judging this from Mark Henry, imagine if he finished in 2010, which he easily could have done, to be honest, because he was going nowhere, doing nothing. You think about the Nexus running past him.
That's brilliant, though. That's right. Oh, that needs to go in the Hall of Fame. That is such a belter of a moment. I love that moment.
He's meant to be chasing after them, and he gets overtaken. If we were up, that shows you where he was. If we got up to that point, Yokozuna destroys him here. But post 2011, that run bolstered a lot of the good stuff. And kind of put it on par with Yokozuna. So you have to ask which is the best moment from Yokozuna's pre to his fall off to Mark Henry having a fall off at the beginning to then post. Up. I think you have to go with someone who falls up than falls down. In this case, I've got Mark Henry.
Oh, thank goodness, Sam. I was going to try and convince you, and I would have World's Strongest slammed you through the table.
Yeah.
If not. But I love Mark Henry for multiple reasons. But I think what you've got to say with Mark Henry, and I am biased because I love Mark Henry.
You do.
He's one of my boys. But I think the fact that his career was so stagnated for so long, and he still was there, and he finally did it.
He got a new contract after his 10 years. He went, I'm going to Hollywood. Can you vaguely wrestle? Much more than I did before. All right, here's an extension.
But the fact that he finally did get so good, because his in-ring work massively did improve.
It did.
Look at his promos and character work as well.
He can talk.
Exactly.
He's brilliant.
So he stayed at it. He could have easily just had that 10-year contract and coasted. He really could have done.
It wasn't going to let him go.
And he didn't, and he learned, and he dedicated his life to... I don't think you'd say he's naturally gifted at wrestling.
No.
But he worked at it so much and became what he became, which was fantastic. Brilliant worker. So I'd say Mark Henry.
I'm going to agree.
We have Kane versus Tugboat. Sam, should we say a few words on Tugboat?
Quick question. Do you know who Tugboat is?
I'm aware of his work. He wears a hat, like a sailor hat, has a striped vest.
He then became Typhoon, and he was part of a tag team with Earthquake, and then he moved to WCW, Sam. And who was he in WCW?
Hulk Hogan was.
No. He was the Shockmaster!
Was he the Shockmaster?
Typhoon was the
No.
Fred Ottman, his name is the Shockmaster. So it's actually Kane versus the Shockmaster.
Put that once in a lifetime kind of match card up there. That is that is big.
He's Hogan's mate.
Oh wow.
Kane?
Yeah.
I just wanted to include the Shockmaster. He wasn't the best. He was always paired with Earthquake, which did not help because Earthquake is about 10 times better than him. But he had a really good little career. He got to do so many cool moments. He got to do the Shockmaster gimmick, so he got a chance and fell over, which is hilarious. But in this case, I think I had Ernie Ladd in instead of Tugboat, but I couldn't talk about Ernie Ladd, so that's kind of Tugboat was the Ernie Ladd replacement, so I feel sorry for anyone who's a big Ernie Ladd fan. But Kane.
And now the final match of the first round, we have Big John Studd versus the Big Show.
And Big John Studd is bigger than people realise. He is a huge man.
Should we talk about him?
I know so little about Big John Studd.
So do I. That's why I was like, you lead.
He returned in the Royal Rumble and won, and then they did nothing with him. I think he had a body slam challenge somewhere.
Yes.
I think it's Andre, actually. My brain's telling me, but I could be wrong there. My brain's telling me Andre. And that's it, because his career was pre. And he was brought back really late. His body had gone by that point. But had a really good long career beforehand. There were some really famous moments and matches that he had. But it's all in the territories. For me, but you cannot ignore a man who is on the list for Royal Rumble winners.
Yeah, and I'm not being funny, that is the one thing that I really know about him. He is literally, for me, an answer to that trivia question, although I hear he's quite good.
Yes, he is, but Big Show is going to go through for this one.
Now we have an interesting match here. We've got Andre the Giant versus Kevin Nash. Two very different personalities. I'm edging Andre because he is the Giant.
I struggle here, right? I'm going to struggle here because here's how I look at it in general with Andre. Andre was a phenomenon, a booking masterclass of territory work. If Andre turns up now as the same person, Andre gets released within a year and a half. He cannot wrestle, ever. I don't think he ever knew how to wrestle because he's so large he can't physically move around. But he is Andre the Giant. And there is no better booking of a character in the history of wrestling than Andre the Giant. Undefeated for 15 years. Don't know if that's true or not. Apparently, it's probably not. Never been slammed. Hogan literally slammed him beforehand. He is one of the best, but he could not talk. He had to have managers. He was a babyface the entire time, which is why he could never be champion, because Hogan and all these other people were champion. He finally turned heel, and that was the best work of his career, but by then his body is shot. Against Hogan, his back is completely ruined. He's got the reason he's wearing this giant singlet is because he's got like back supports and stuff on.
Yeah.
At Summer Show, when he was in The Princess Bride, the film, he couldn't hold the female actress.
Wow.
She got placed down on a harness into his hands.
And you'd think that
this huge monster of a man,
like a carrot,
and he physically couldn't do it. And so, like, Andre is obviously the most famous big man of all time. But if you literally went side by side with these two, genuinely, we did a thing. Wrestling ability, it's Kevin Nash.
Of course.
Talking, it's Kevin Nash. Storytelling, it's Kevin Nash. Look, probably about even in the 70s, because Kevin Nash's looks at a different thing. There are so many gimmick and personality, probably Andre at that point, but Kevin Nash was in the NWO and things like that, one of the most famous things in history. So, genuinely for me, Sam, Andre the Giant is just one of those names of, we talked about the idea of going, this person can't lose because they're this, and they're always lauded. I generally think that because Andre was around in the late 80s with the WWE and not later when working was a bit more important, and I generally think, and working week in at television, imagine if they had Raw. He couldn't do Raw.
Yeah.
He could do the pay-per-views and all that jazz because he doesn't need to wrestle that much. He doesn't wrestle on Superstars often and all that jazz. I just want to throw my hat in that I believe it's Kevin Nash.
I understand completely what you're saying, and I think factually you are probably correct, but there's a certain feeling for me with Andre, and obviously it wasn't about, but there's something quite special about him, and I would still pick Andre, even though I feel as though all of your points are correct.
Yeah, it is.
It's about big men and giants, so I wouldn't say he's the better wrestler. I would personally say, as a big man, carrying that phenomenon and aura, and he was really the big man. I would have Andre, but if you want to veto,
I'm not vetoing against
Okay.
Andre the Giant for Kevin Nash. But my point, I just wanted to make that stand that I do believe Kevin Nash is, on all levels, technically better.
Better wrestler. I just, because it's criteria big man, I'd say Andre, but I wouldn't have had a problem if you'd have vetoed.
But I understand it, so I'm going Andre. But I just want to make that point that I do think Andre is literally, I won't say lightning in a bottle, but it's over 20 years, but Andre is the perfect storm of a generation. He literally came round at the best time. And what a hard-working individual. Would go round and round. He never went home. He never saw his child, which, don't get me wrong, is really sad, and I'm glad that we are now different to that type of thing, particularly in WWE. Like, people have now complained on the other side, going, not doing many house shows, and like, good! Let them go home! Or they're recording Raw as a tape show. So they can go home and have Christmas on Thanksgiving, you cretins. I hate people. Hate fans. I want to watch it live. I already know the results. That's your fault. Yeah. That you know the results. Oh, yeah, but they give it away online. Don't follow wrestling things if they're going to give it away.
I don't follow that stuff.
Exactly. Shut up. Andre the Giant.
Next we have Earthquake versus Bruiser Brody. I feel as though you're going Earthquake here.
Earthquake is one of the best big men of all time that has not been given the recognition because he came around Hogan.
Okay.
Earthquake is a huge man. He's over 400 pounds. He's actually quite tall as well. And he was brought in, he had the old Santino gimmick. We need somebody to get on the back of this person going to do push-ups. And they picked out Earthquake. Now, Santino is front row in the crowd. Earthquake's up there.
But you're going to spot him.
He's about 15 rows back. So it actually feels really genuine. See that fat lad over there? Get him. But he ain't fat. He is a huge man. And he literally, as Earthquake, used to stomp around. And no one sold it apart from Hercules, who went... I love you, Hercules. You terrible wrestler. But he was in design to do with Hogan. He was the runner-up to the Royal Rumble at Hogan.
Yes.
He had his Hogan match at SummerSlam. He put out Hogan. His sit down, Rey Mysterio's like seated senton, or Finley's little sit. That was his finishing move. And Hogan was out with rib injuries because of it. He got over. He went over to WCW as part of the Dungeon of Doom. He actually was Golga in WWE. He got brought back and they went, he's lost a lot of weight and we don't want people thinking he's Earthquake. We'll put a gold mask on him and that kind of room. They should have just made him Earthquake. And he came back in the WrestleMania 17 Gimmick Battle Royal. Looked great. Could have easily signed him again. Earthquake generally is one of the best big men of all time. Bruiser Brody is also one of the best big men of all time. But for me, Bruiser Brody is probably the bigger name and is probably the better wrestler. But I think the body of work and the impressiveness of being a big man, and I think that's the difference. Bruiser Brody didn't work as a big man. He just happened to be a large man. I think Earthquake is the perfect example of how to work as a big man with speed and power. because he could do drop kicks and stuff,
Mm.
which is somebody who's 400
That's
pounds mental. So I've got Earthquake going for it.
I'll go with that. Next, we have a tasty matchup. We've got One Man Gang versus Mark Henry.
We've gone from one Royal Rumble runner-up to another, the first ever, and one man who turned up in the WrestleMania 17 Gimmick Battle Royal.
Oh, really?
He was meant to be Akeem in that one, but he'd lost so much weight, didn't fit the costume, so came out as One Man Gang.
That is.
And the only reason I'm picking Mark Henry over One Man Gang, I know we haven't talked about it, One Man Gang's actually really good, can work really fast, lost a lot of weight, up, down himself, but always fair play to him. I hated the Akeem gimmick, because A, it's a rib on Dusty Rhodes, and B, it's quite offensive. To be honest, playing this African Dream, and he's like, you're like from like Chicago or something, like wherever.
It's a cool name. I like the name.
Akeem, the African Dream's great, but it's like, no, don't. You have no heritage in Africa and stuff like that. Even South Africa, which obviously has a lot more white people, Zimbabwe. No, don't do it. Didn't like it. And also, what was he doing? Dancing. So, Mark Henry is going to defeat One Man Gang.
Oh, Sam, one of your favourite matchups and your favourite tag teams of all time. We've got back in the Royal Rumble 2015. It's Kane versus the Big Show.
Every time these two are anywhere near each other, it's just awful.
It's bad, isn't it?
Every
really
time. This is the best matchup they've ever had on the bracket series for us. These are the two of the greatest big men. This could have easily gone way further than the last 16.
Yes.
It's tough to call this one. I do think there is a more obvious answer.
It's Kane.
I think it's Kane. However, the only thing I will throw out is Kane's career in terms of booking and gimmick fall off a cliff really fast. Like, he's still being pushed. It's the minute he took the mask off, actually, I think.
I think he had maybe a grace period with without the mask, with the whole kind of run, and they made it a thing.
The first run.
And then I'd say post-Mania 20.
Yeah, literally Undertaker 20, it just wasn't the same. And then they did the thing with Snitsky and Lita, and I will never let that go, that he became a babyface rapist. I'm not having that.
He did.
That's just...
He fully did.
Abhorrent. And then he kind of did nothing for a long time, put the mask back on for whatever reason, just like, I'm putting the mask back on.
I loved it.
Didn't look good. He no longer looked as built because obviously, things had stopped and all that jazz. Big Show, his problem is he never got the booking. If Big Show had had a consistent book his entire career, he would be, I think, be getting to the final of this. Because he could... Everyone says a rubbish wrestler. No, he's not.
No,
Big Show's a great wrestler.
Yeah.
He was a brilliant wrestler.
For his size, he's unbelievably good.
He's a good talker. People go, he's a rubbish talker. No, he wasn't. He was given terrible scripts. And people go, you can make a script work. Not if you're given the same script every week. He literally said in his interview, I had to say I'm 7 foot tall, 500 pounds in every single promo. And I'm like, they know this by now. Yeah. Keep saying it. Keep saying it. But the problem is both... Do you know what their both problems is? They were both company men. If one of them had literally had a bit more gall and was like, I'm not doing that, they actually might have had an even better career. But I think for the impact Kane had, particularly in those opening 5 years of his career, we're going to go Kane.
Kane. So in our first quarterfinal of this side of the bracket, we have Andre the Giant versus Earthquake.
It's tough because I think Earthquake is a better big man than Kevin Nash, but I would still say Kevin Nash is better than Earthquake. Yeah. So if I think Kevin Nash would be better than Earthquake as an overall package, but as a big man, Earthquake probably beats him. So it's very tough. If we did this, who's the better, had the better career? Kevin Nash. Who's the better wrestler? Earthquake. By miles. Kevin Nash is a terrible worker. If you say about 5 moves of doom, when Jim Cornette had to teach Kane to play Kevin Nash when he was doing fake Diesel, he's got 5 moves and one of them is stroking your hair back.
It's true, isn't it?
And it's hilarious. So Earthquake is the better worker, but I don't think you could put Earthquake above Andre. I could understand people putting Kevin Nash, WCW champion, NWO, better promo and all that jazz. Even I, with my mega boyness for Earthquake, couldn't put him over Andre the Giant, even with the critiques I have of Andre the Giant.
Yeah. So
I'm going to put Andre in the danger zone of the non-veto section, but he's going through to the semi-final.
Another match we all enjoy.
Someone's going to get the head split.
They are.
It's wig split.
It's Mark Henry versus Kane. We're back in 2011 here.
I have an obvious answer. I think it's Kane.
I do. I agree.
I think because everything I said before is Mark Henry's is over 2 years, whereas Kane's got 5. And I think if you took their best and their worst, I think Kane's worst is better than Mark Henry's worst.
I know.
And Kane's best is better than Mark Henry's best.
I want Mark Henry to be the president of the world.
Yes. Kane is trying.
He is trying. He is trying. I'll give it to Kane, but I just love Mark Henry so much. He's a bloody brilliant man.
Yeah, Kane is going through to the
fine.
semi-final.
Sorry, Mark. Well, we have quite the semi-final here. This is a bit interesting to see these two characters meet. We've got Andre the Giant versus Kane. Sam, where's your head at?
I don't know. If you paired them, Andre had the bigger and better career. Kane had more impact because of the TV that was on at the time. So we can't talk about either of those things because they're generational. It's kind of unfair. You can't compare one who's able to be on TV every single week and one who is able to move from territory to territory and gaggle of people
They
follow
almost
them.
had different jobs.
Yes, they did.
Despite
They
being in the same
really
profession.
did. You can't talk about necessarily promo for a long time because Kane wasn't allowed to talk for a long time, but Kane is a decent promo. I think we have to look at the in-ring work. I think we have to look at the impact when they were allowed to be in the ring and stuff like that. I don't know.
yeah.
Every time I have an idea for one, I go, well, you counteract it for that.
Depends what your framework is. I mean, so what is the title of this video? What is the best big man?
I think Kane being able to come off the top rope, do clotheslines, be able to work with pretty much everyone, and being a company man. I mean, Andre was a company man as well. He just got the booking. Kane, in-ring work, I would say, never really fell off.
No.
I would say that if he was in, let's say, in 1998, in-ring work, he was a 7 out of 10, say. I would say by the end of his career, he was probably a 5.5, 6. I wouldn't say it was a dramatic drop.
Yeah.
Which for Andre, if you compare Andre to himself, like Andre at the end couldn't physically move. He should have retired 3 years ago, but Vince wouldn't let him go. Vince knew if I put Andre on the marquee, people would turn up. And that's the other thing into consideration. Who's turning up for Kane? Who's turning up for Andre? But again, is that generational?
It is generational. It's all circumstantial. But for me, I'm looking at the body of work. And if you look at Andre as well, what kind of stories did he have other than tearing Hogan's shirt? And he had turned on Bobby Heenan.
Jake Roberts with the snake. He had all the territory things were all massive storylines. The thing is, you can only talk about wrestling in WWE. Feel like it was only 3 years old by WrestleMania 1. It feels like.
No, I know.
You know.
I know, I'm just...
The problem with WWE is he had to protect him while not pushing him because otherwise he should be the WWE champion.
So limited in the way you can use Andre.
Yeah, that was an issue.
I am going towards Kane.
You're going towards Kane?
Are you going towards Andre?
I think I've talked myself out of Andre and then talked myself back round. I've confused myself.
You can have him out in the second round.
I had Andre, like I said, I think Kevin Nash is better, but I knew Andre was still going to win. Yeah. But then the more and more I talk about it, I went, oh no, and then oh no. So now I'm genuinely like up in arms. I'm not sure what to do.
Would you have had Andre beat the Big Show?
Yes.
Okay, I was going to use that as a talking point, but no, never mind.
Big Show, if they'd had swapped, right? So if Big Show came out when Andre was happening and they had the same... Big Show would be regarded as way better than Andre ever... And that's the difference. As I said, if Andre was put in now... Actually, here's your definition. If Kane gets a swap with Andre, does Kane have the same career that Andre has? No. If Andre swaps with Kane, does Andre have the same career that Kane has? No. So you can't do that. Big Show, on the other hand, you could have done that. Big Show swaps with Andre, he has a better career than Andre. And if Andre swaps with Big Show, Andre doesn't have Big Show's career. So because we do that, because we've talked about that with the Big Show, does that mean that Kane is therefore better, technically?
I'd rather watch Kane's work than Andre's.
Okay.
And I think Kane could do more.
The only thing I'll counter-argue with this, just at the death, WrestleMania 3 is regarded as the greatest WrestleMania of all time, greatest sporting event, anything that's ever happened, wrestling event at the time. It got 93,000 people. Shut up, Dave. And that is based on the concept of Andre the Giant, more probably than Hogan. You know, heel Andre, 15 years and all that lot, and obviously the power of Hulkamania. Kane couldn't do that. Does that matter into the fact that Andre is such a big name that he was able to sell out a 93,000-seater stadium based on the back of himself and to an extent Hogan?
Oh, why do you do this to me?
It's right, isn't it? I've said every positive and negative you can about Andre.
But here's the thing. Is that based on Andre the Giant or is it based on the idea of Andre the Giant?
Oh, it's based on the idea.
I mean.
Absolutely the idea. I'm not even going to counteract that.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Is he that good or is
he
it fantastic marketing? And hey, Andre, I love Andre.
The thing is, the in-ring work didn't need to be good.
I know. I'm just...
That's the problem. You can't go on in-ring work
because...
Kane beats
him in every single bit of criteria.
Look, it does.
If you want to pick Andre, you pick Andre. I'm going Kane.
I can't. Semi-final. It's all you.
No. Oh, is it me?
I can't veto. It's all
No,
you.
but
You're the
no,
judge.
you know what I mean. So I am the judge here.
No. Don't you cop out. Don't you cop out.
Right. Fine. Kane.
There you go. That's
Fine.
how it should be.
Fine.
Every time I judge, I put my foot down, and you're there going, "If you want a big Andre."
But because I don't feel that's. I'd put my foot down for many people, including Mark Henry. But
By the way,
I felt quite indecisive.
By the way, Kane.
Yeah.
I put in Kane.
Kane. But I didn't feel that strongly. Sam, what have we done? What have we done? The final is genuinely not purposefully the Undertaker versus Kane, Sam.
Random draw.
What a match this would be, Sam.
No, if only they'd faced.
What a dream match.
Imagine them as a tag team.
Oh, I know.
God, they'd be
They
like.
could have caused
They could have been brothers. They could have been brothers.
What destruction they would have caused.
Everyone knew who was winning this bracket series, but who do you think should have won? What do you think of our decisions? Please put it in the comments below.
I'm not ever going to even
Do
say
we need to discuss it? We knew who was going to win. We wanted to talk about. We wanted to give respect to a lot of other people. It was one of the ones where we knew the winner. It's very rare that the winner was going to be obvious, but the winner of the big man category, over 6'8" and all over £350, is going to be the Undertaker, the greatest gimmick of all time.
Closely followed by Kane.
Has been in some of the greatest matches of all time. So you can't just go, oh, he's a big man, he can't work. No, his match with Shawn Michaels is regarded as one of the greatest of all time, then follows it with another one with Shawn, follows it with two rubbish ones against Triple H, and then follows it with CM Punk. You cannot deny that everything he did, he improved, he got better, his body of work got better, his body physically got better as well. He adapted, he changed, he never let it go. Compared to Kane, who's didn't improve in the ring, but did adapt, but I think his initial incarnation is still the greatest, whereas Undertaker had better incarnations. So I think we are fully in agreement that Undertaker is the greatest big man of all time. Thank you very much for joining us on our big men. What do you think, coming from two very little men? What do you would like us to do a bracket series on? Do you have anything you want to see what we think the best of is? We try to be as unbiased as possible. This is not like our top 10 or it's our personal. We try and generally be as unbiased as we can, as proven by him letting Mark Henry go.
That hurt me so much.
And stuff like that. So please join us next time for another brackets. Go watch our other brackets. Go follow us on X and Blue Sky and TikTok and all those jazz. And we will see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.